Today, July 1st of 2025. My name is Corey Box, and I'll be your chair for tonight. Tonight should be very quick. We do not have a lot on the agenda, so it's a good night to be here. Get everybody home early. And Mr. Macy, if you could please verify our attendance, sir.
Brown,
Here.
Short,
Here.
Emmons,
Here.
Ogier, Abel, Murray.
Here.
Mayor Box.
Here. Thank you very much. We're going to start off with tonight's invocation. We welcome back Reverend Dr. Rebecca Wesson from St. James Presbyterian. And if you'd like, tell us what's going on in your congregation and then lead us to the Lord in prayer.
We are focusing on expanding our education and our fellowship ministries this month. We are launching a new ministry called Pub Theology. Our first meeting of Pub Theology will be at the Erie Ale Brewery here in Jenks on Main Street on July 10th at 7 p.m. Open to the public. We'll be drinking a beer and talking about Jesus. So come along and have some fun with us.
And can you tell us where your church is located and your address, please?
St. James Presbyterian Church is at 11970 South Elm Street in Jenks. It's about 2 miles south of Reesers.
All right.
Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the opportunity to gather in this place, for the women and men who are committed to the leadership of this fine city, for the opportunity to gather freely, to discuss calmly and civilly things that matter to the citizens of this place. We thank you for the opportunity to be concerned with things like closing streets to celebrate freedom, and for opportunities for entertainment and athleticism in walking trails, for the privilege that these are the things that occupy our time because other places have more challenges in front of them. The privilege that we have to be in this place with these people, we give you thanks and praise, that they might be wise in their consideration for this day and for the days to come. In your name we pray. Amen.
You got to burn a few calories getting up and down, so you might as well remain standing, right? Let's be more efficient, Air Force. All right, do we have an animal welfare spotlight tonight? It's on the agenda. Do we have a? We don't. Did you get them all adopted? We did not. So what's the? How did we fail, Chief? How did we fail to not get an animal? Okay. All right. Understood. Appreciate that, sir. Okay. Okay, thank you, Chief. It's the 4th of July Independence Day special. All fees are waived. If you'd like to adopt an animal, we have quite a few, I believe, over at the animal shelter. All right. Citizens' comments, public comments. If you're here tonight and you'd like to address the council on anything, any topic that is not on tonight's agenda, you're welcome to do so. Just ask that you keep it to 3 to 5 minutes. If you practice often, 3 minutes. If this is your first time and you're nervous, we'll give you as many as 5. Young lady, you've done this many times. You are limited to 3. Name and address for the record, please.
Charlotte Montgomery, 10612 South Fir Avenue. I wanted to talk about an item on last council's agenda, and that was Bentley Ranch. And I had talked with the city planner after the planning commission meeting and again after the council meeting. What you voted on were 2 things, not only the zoning change, but the PUD. Both of those in the UDO require public hearing. And so to discuss things like nodes and links, fire access, all those types of issues, anything about it, that you can talk about it at that time. But yet, at the Planning Commission, the representative for the developer said, well, it was just we could only talk about zoning. That's not correct. By code, for a PUD, whether it's first presented or it's a major amendment, you have public notice and you have public comment. So I just wanted to point out that when you have that come forward again, all the things that you were talking about, that's permitted. The other thing is that I'd like to see where, especially with amenities, that you are consistent in your vision and what you're requiring. And with Fraser Meadows, Fraser Falls, and with Kimberly Estates, you had wanted to have a dispersal because they were large developments, because they were all located up at the top. You wanted to have something down in the middle or at the end. The motion did not include any of that. And my concern is not, I mean, I don't live personally close to that, so I don't have a personal stake. What I'm saying is be consistent. That's all I have. Thank you.
Question with a yes or no answer. Your comments tonight are informational only, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. And for council, I think it would be a good idea if anyone wants to kind of spearhead the a process, not a committee necessarily, but setting up some time with Marseille. We don't have a ton of future subdivisions in our future with the limited land we have, but if we can get to where she's suggesting we have a package or a standard requirement, so we're not kind of making it up as we go. I do think Bentley Ranch was a little unique. It's been a long time since we've had $1 million plus neighborhood that wasn't overwhelming, so it felt a little bit unique in that regard. But if you guys want to throw some ideas around, let me know, invite me or Kevin or whoever. Let's get a meeting scheduled and let's make this easier for Marseille and for the public. We probably do need to get a little bit better organized with the future land that we do have out there. And I think that comment was probably also necessary because at the city council meeting, I was shut down and told not to talk about things because it was a zoning change only, but it wasn't. And I think it's always a bad idea to ask the chair not to speak, but nevertheless, we did anyway. But we'll move on from that. All right. Moving on to item number 1 is the consideration and appropriate action relating to tonight's consent agenda. Council members, if you'd like, you can pull A through F for further discussion. If not, we can entertain a motion to approve as is.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Thank you both. We have a proper motion and a second on item 1. Let's vote, please.
Brown.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Emmons.
Yes.
Murray. Yes. Mayor Box.
Yes. We can pull item 2 as a result. Moving on to item 3. This is a sanitary sewer easement related to the raw development plat. The general location of this project is south of the Creek Turnpike, east of the Tulsa Premium Outlets. And for those of you that are just joining us, this is the project you might be familiar with that will have the In the Raw restaurant, potential hotel, and some other pad sites, et cetera, et cetera. We are on page 99 if you are following along, and we are welcoming, who's got, anybody talking about this, Mr. Shrout?
I guess I can here. So at the last meeting, we discussed, and I believe it was at this meeting too, but at the JADA meeting, there was a not to exceed number that was an incentive for this developer. And the reason for that incentive was their property is 10 acres immediately east of the outlet mall, and they do not have access to the sanitary sewer system that the city has. The closest connection is the lift station that is southwest of the mall that Simon Property Group installed. And so the City Council and the Jenks Economic Development Authority approved an incentive to connect the 10 acres east of the mall to this sanitary sewer lift station that is southwest of the mall. And so in order to do that, you have to have some sort of land to put that utility in. And this is the easement dedication for that sanitary sewer line.
Thank you, Mr. Shrout. Any questions from council on my right? my left? All right. If there's no questions, sanitary sewer easement dedication, we can entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 3 is written.
Second.
Thank you both. We have a proper motion and a second on item 3. Let's vote, please.
Brown. Yes. Short.
Yes.
Emmons.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes. Item number 1 under tonight's other business is city manager's report. Mr. Shrout, we're on page 125.
Mayor and all members of council, we've had multiple engineering meetings related to the low water dam, and I'd ask that Assistant City Manager Robert Carr discuss some updates that came out of those meetings that were held last week with the City of Tulsa, the Muskogee Creek Nation, and the engineering firms that are getting this project moving.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Carr.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's been a long time in waiting, but there is some movement now on the design of the low water dam. There were 2 half-days of meetings last week that we hosted at the aquarium. I know Vice Mayor Brown stayed for all of it, or just about all of it, on the first day. And I thank you, Mayor, for coming and kicking it off a little bit also. There's not a whole lot to say about what's going on with it right at this point in time. The engineering firms that are hired to do the work now are under contract to the City of Tulsa. They're paying the engineering contract. The intent is that we would get to a 10% design stage to come up with costs for what the project would end up being. There's a series of workshops that are being planned. The first one was all about construction contracting methods, which I really thought was going to go in a different direction. What they really were talking about was the difference between how we typically have been awarding contracts for construction projects. And what we typically have been doing here in Jenks is you award a contract to an engineering firm, they do the design and come up with a bid package, and you then bid that out, and whoever comes in low and most qualified would get the work. And the city is at the top, and then you got the engineering firm and the contractor. And typically, like on the Elm Street project that I'll talk about in a minute also, you've got to have somebody that knows what they're doing during construction to keep the project moving. The methodology that was talked about mostly that everybody ended up agreeing with, and everybody meaning we had representatives from the City of Tulsa. The second day we had a representative from the Muskogee Creek Nation. We had representatives from the City of Jenks. And then most of the other people were all in the consulting firms. But what the focus was that rather than doing the traditional design build contract, they wanted some direction on how it would go, because it might affect how they will do their analysis of putting the project together. And what was agreed to was there's a concept now that I've just become familiar with in about the last month. It's a construction management at risk contract. And what you do is you have the municipality or the entity that's over the project, we'll select an engineering firm. And then at some point prior to finalizing the design, you will contract with a construction firm that would be selected based upon different qualification criteria, experiences, things to be able to be used in that project. And that construction firm will work very closely with everyone to try and see, can the design be constructed? What kind of costs would be involved in it? They would be the ones that would have the most up-to-date costs, so it's good to have them involved early in the process. So even though right now it's getting into engineering, we're liable to sometime in the future see something come out about selecting a contractor to be part of this mix. And what it also does is it creates more collaboration between the contractor, the owner of the project, the engineers, so that if some unforeseen situations come up, then you can work through it a little bit easier. And everybody seems to think that because nobody can see underground where the dam's going to go, that there might be some unforeseen things that are going to be encountered at some point. I mean, we try and do analysis up front to see what we're going to be running into, but sometimes you don't get it all. And I think they've even been out there already doing some soil borings to see what they're going to encounter on both sides of the river, and has to be across the river also for what this project is. So that was the essence of the first workshop. And I'm sure you would have been impressed with sitting there and listening to all this all day long. So I know the vice mayor was very interested, asked some great questions. The next workshop is going to talk about the dam gate selection, dam being without an N on the end of it, but and the pedestrian bridge. That'll be in early August, and then another workshop in September is going to be involving environmental and the east and west bank developments. I mean, we're very interested in what's going to happen on the west bank. They have a line in here for a fourth workshop, and I'm sure we'll probably have one that they didn't have. It was to be determined. The 10% will be completed in January for review, and the final design and preliminary design report, including all of the costs, will become available towards the end of February of next year. So we'll have a lot of information at that point in time, and I know that there's a number of us that are going to be looking forward to seeing what this really is going to end up costing, because the dollar figures are really outdated right now. Anybody have any questions about what we talked about?
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Anyone? Okay. I would agree. Thank you, Mr. Carr. Appreciate it. Here's the good news. Any pre-election concerns we had with the city of Tulsa being committed to this, I think are mostly not concerns anymore. Mayor Nichols does seem to be very engaged. Councilor Lakin and Archie are very much for this project as well. I would say that the majority of the Tulsa City Council would like to see this dam probably float down the river, but some of the more influential ones, and the mayor is behind it as well. Don't forget, the voters approved this pretty significantly in 2016 with Vision 2025. So it's really good to see Mayor Nichols scheduling these meetings, and then even asking us if we'd like to come back. How often do we want to come back, whether it's quarterly or after these workshops? I did not have a lot to say, but I've got a lot of questions this week that I don't have answers for. The biggest question is, what are we doing about bald eagles? And the simple answer is, I don't know. What I do know is nobody on this council knows anything about building a dam or how to protect the fish, the birds, or any of the eagles that are mostly on their side of the river. I do know that the project schedule suggests that on September 16th through September 22nd will be workshop number 3, and workshop number 3 will be where the environmental impact study, which is the least tern, which is a kind of bird. And apparently there's some fish in the river that, I don't know if it was a joke, but it only likes to swim on the Jenks side of the river and not the Tulsa side. That wasn't a joke, was it? Okay. And then there, of course, there's obviously bald eagles' nests that are far north of the proposed site for the dam. I've never seen one on the Tulsa side, and I don't think there's any trees on the Jenks side of where the dam is going to hit. So any environmental impact for us is this fish. I don't think nobody can find this little bird, and then maybe there might be an eagle's nest somewhere on the west side, the Tulsa side of the river. So it's definitely part of the project. I'm just saying without saying, there's nobody up here that knows anything about how that works. Our job is to communicate the timelines with you and make sure you guys are aware that these things are being addressed. And there will be many, many government agencies watching over every move people make in this project. So it's going to be addressed at some point. But this is good. The fact that Tulsa has a dedicated engineer and they're printing off PowerPoints and these massive scheduling plans is very, very good for those of you in Jenks that actually want this project to happen. This will be a 4-mile long lake. And much like the river development did for Austin, this will create entrepreneurship. Businesses will pop up out of nowhere. Banks will loan money to people that never needed it before, and it will create wealth for a lot of people in Tulsa County. And and that's usually a good thing. So, but we'll have to keep an eye on how that goes. So thank you, Mr. Carr. Appreciate that.
Mayor, could I ask?
Of course.
If Mr. Carr could also give an update, a little more detailed update on the Elm Street project?
Yes, we could have kept you up here. Sorry, Mr. Carr.
That's fine.
You're obviously aware that our residents like to poke fun of the Elm Street project construction, how many workers are out there. Obviously, the Reverend sits out there right in front of it and probably pays attention to it. Specifically, can you tell us what's the status of AT&T and how's the construction company thinking about the overall timeline?
I would be glad to do that.
No, you wouldn't.
Let me give some history here. Paragon Contractors is the one that was selected to do this job, and they're working on phase 1, which is from 111th to 121st, a little bit to the south of 121st, and a trail that has been designed on 116th going to the east. They started work in early January. We also contracted with Standard Engineering and Testing Services to do construction management. Our staff here just is not qualified to look at these types of projects and keep on top of everything, so we contracted with them to do the construction observation. Like most projects like this, Paragon's initial efforts were directed toward locating the existing underground utilities and verifying where they needed to be in order to perform the work that was on the design drawings. When they first started, they found out that AT&T was in the way of everything. They had never relocated anything. We've already talked about that in the past. We had a number of emails and various meetings that were held between Paragon and Standard Engineering, our city staff, and AT&T in order to get things moving. And their relocation started in mid-April. Now remember, I said Paragon was on site in early January, so it was a few months before AT&T even started doing some of that work. So in the meantime, I mean, Paragon was trying to figure where they could work that was not going to be in conflict with what AT&T was doing. So they did not have full staffing there to do it because there wasn't a whole lot that they could really accomplish except for small things. At Paragon's request, AT&T started on the northwest corner of the 121st intersection, because that's where where Paragon wanted to start work to do some storm drain work, was in that intersection. So AT&T was accommodating and got a pedestal and some other things out of the way at that location, but then they have kept moving from there to go to the north on the west side of Elm Street. Paragon is keeping track of what they can do and what AT&T's doing. But the last we had was that it's probably going to be another 3 to 4 weeks before AT&T is going to be done on the west side of the road. Now and then they'll move over to the east side. But one of the challenges that Paragon's been having is that that's where they really need to be working, is down the west side of the road for the storm drainage, because you got to put the storm drains in before you can do any other construction, or else if it rains, you're going to be ponding everywhere. So Paragon's working as much as they can in areas where they can get the work done. Now, when that project started, they had to narrow the lanes, particularly at the 121st intersection, in order to keep people in the right traffic lanes while they were working on the west side of the intersection. And they finally got enough signage up and traffic striping done that I think people are used to where they're going now, with the assistance of the Jenks Police Department helping monitor the speed and maybe people taking turns that they're not supposed to be making. So Paragon really appreciates what the police department's doing, because they've had to work very close to the road and didn't particularly like the idea of cars buzzing past them. And I tend to agree with them. Paragon has worked to complete the installation of the storm drains in the area of the 121st Street intersection, and are working on doing some of the curbing at that location. But one of the big challenges that has come up was that there's some unsuitable, unforeseen soil conditions that were not identified during the design process that they've run into. And it's for a very sizable portion all along the west side of the road. So we've had a number of conversations about what to do. And there's an option that has come up that looks to be the cheapest, but also very effective, is to add cement to the soil and stabilize the soil with the cement. Now, some of you might be sitting here thinking, what do we need a sidewalk underground for? A sidewalk is made of cement and aggregate. It's called concrete. We're not putting concrete in the hole, we're putting cement, and it's going to be a powder that's going to get mixed in, and then you add water and it makes it very solid. But the challenge is that it's going to get a little dusty probably when they're trying to apply all that. So if people start complaining about that, then ask them to have the wind stop blowing. But it's going to be very challenging to be able to put it down without having dust. Rain has slowed the progress of Paragon doing work there. I mean, when you can't work in the mud and do the work that they were trying to do, and AT&T couldn't work either. So that's part of the reason AT&T is still 3 or 4 weeks out. Paragon is still committed to trying to stay on the original contract construction schedule. And the last scheduled date shows that the whole project, both sides of the road, the trail, new fence along Fox Run, it's all going to be complete around October of next year. So we still got a ways to go. So I'm sure everybody can bear with it, and we'll see the great fruits of all of this in another year plus. In the meantime, we will be advertising Phase 2 to go complete the project down to 131st Street, but we don't have those contract documents put together yet and aren't ready to bid it out. But that will be coming fairly soon. Any questions from anybody?
Thank you, Robert. Questions?
If AT&T is having the issues they're having, and they're still going to have to go on the east side, before they let out a contractor, before we get anything going construction-wise, 121st and 131st, can we get AT&T started early on that?
They're
Or-
out of there already. That's what they thought was supposed to be done. And they didn't read the information that said the whole project needed to be relocated, not just from 121st to 131st.
So when they get done from 111 to 121st, then they'll start the 121st, 131st?
No, it's done
Oh, so 131st to 121st is done
for AT&T.
for AT&T?
Yeah.
Okay, good, good.
There, we just have one utility that still needs to be moved, and they're getting very close to doing that, and that's East Central Electric.
And that's closer to 131st.
Yeah, well, no, they're actually up by Gaetano's is where they're
Oh,
going to be.
okay.
We wanted to save all those trees in front of Gaetano's, so we ended up working out something with them, and they're going underground and going a different direction.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Carr, you said AT&T has about 4 weeks left of work on Phase 1? And
No.
No?
On the west side of the road.
On the west side of the road?
They've got a lot of splicing that they have to do. I think most of their underground, their conduits are in the ground. They might have a little bit more of that to do, but they can't do their splicing until all of the conduits are in. And the last I heard, it was going to be about 3 or 4 weeks before they'll have all of that done on the west side.
Okay.
So they can now move to the east
So
side.
they can't move to the east per Paragon's request? They just can't? Because you made it sound like Paragon wants them out of the way on the west side. And
They
it sounds
do.
like they can't be out of the way. Would you agree?
That
That
they-
we can't move AT&T over to the east?
Not at this
Okay, all
time
right.
until they get everything relocated. We
Okay.
don't want them to move until they get it all relocated.
Okay. Can you indulge me for a moment, since this is a very public project?
Sure.
Any questions from the audience on this project? Can you shout it out loud so we can hear you over the?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like they've got the curbing and they're getting ready to pour the lanes for the turn lanes at 121st Street. Are they gonna open those up incrementally, or are they gonna wait till the whole intersection is done?
No, you have to open it incrementally because you get one side done so you can put traffic on it so you can work on the other side.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Mr. Carr, appreciate the update.
Thank you.
And I would just add one more thing as a part of the city manager report. We're going to have an open houses to obtain public input for the ranch property and then the 400 acres that is west of the turnpike. And tentatively, we have 3 open houses scheduled, and I think Katie will be getting this out on social media soon. But the first meeting is scheduled for Thursday, July 10th, from 5:30 to 7:30. The second one is scheduled for Tuesday, July 22nd, 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. And the third is scheduled for Saturday, August 9th, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. We tried to do them different days of the week, different times to accommodate people's schedules, and I think we'll also have opportunity for input online as well. But the goal is to get input from the public on what we can do with what will be a permanent park and open space.
Can you also give us, there's an open house tomorrow for INCOG. Can you share the details on that, the GO plan, since Marcet's not here?
Robert, do you know that better? You probably know that better than me.
Just, so INCOG, the Indian Nation Council of Governments, is coming to Jenks tomorrow night from
5:30 to 7
5:30 to 7 at
Here.
in this building to show you their idea of a sidewalk trail system that's been in discussions for a long time, essentially from Turkey Mountain all the way down the river through Jenks, and eventually this sidewalk would or should or could connect to the future low water dam trail, where you could walk across the dam and end up on the Tulsa side if you should ever want to go that way. So that's tomorrow here from 5:30 to 7. They're seeking input, or is this a presentation? It doesn't really matter.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a come and go. It's not a presentation
Okay.
per se, but they're going to have boards that show the different things.
Okay.
And they would like to get input from the public.
Okay. So there's information about this on the city's website, city's Facebook page. I think I shared it today. So tomorrow night here, and just understand that it's an invitation from INCOG, not the city of Jenks.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's on my committee report. There's a number of areas throughout the city that have been identified for sidewalks, trail improvements, actually a significant amount in Ward 1. So if you're interested to see what's been proposed on this, or what options are going to be available to us, you definitely want to come out for that. It's a lot of areas that we don't have complete trails that are going to be filled in with this. So it's a positive thing for the city.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Anything else, Mr. Shrout? No, sir. Okay, from my mayor's report, we gave an update on the low water dam, so things are moving there. I've got a lot of requests this week to permanently ban fireworks in the city of Jenks. Here's what I would tell you. If you want that to happen, get the council to vote on it. You won't have my support. You don't need my support. I get one vote. 17 or so requests to ban fireworks forever in the city of Jenks. There's a way to get that done. You don't need the mayor to do that. I would tell you, if you own a dog and your dog is susceptible, as many are this particular time of year, if you go to the Tulsa World, this past Friday's Tulsa World on page A8 was a very, very good 7 or 8 different things you could do to protect your dog or give your dog a comforting environment during the 4th of July. This council did not vote, or maybe we did, I don't know if we did or didn't, on the $20 permit fee to have fireworks, but the goal of is not money, it's to not make money to get a fireworks permit. It's so that the fire department has a general idea of where people are lighting off fireworks, because inevitably our public safety responders are going to be very, very busy the next couple of days. So that's the goal. It's not big government making money. It's to have an idea of where people are lighting these things off. But no, I get one vote, and I don't support repealing anyone's right to celebrate Independence Day. So let's just put that to rest. You guys can take that up after I'm gone if you want to do that. Also, good news, Sharklahoma started today, okay? It's a one month long celebration of all things sharks. I got the pleasure of announcing the bull shark dive contest started yesterday. So if you are interested in registering for an opportunity to dive with the bull sharks, like yours truly did last year, only elected official in the history of the world to do that, you have to visit oklahomaquarium.org, and there's a link there for that registration. It's $10. If you don't win, then that $10 goes to the Family Fish Funds, Friends of the Fish Friends. There's a lot of F's. Fish Friends, and that's a very good cause, because we use that money to help underprivileged schools and children come to the aquarium at no cost. And they generate lots of money every year to get kids to the aquarium. Primary goal of the aquarium is not sharks. It's to educate kids and people about the wonders of the open water world. So keep that in mind if you're interested. That is it for me. Do we do committee reports now? I don't have, where's my glasses at? Do we? Oh. Okay, we are not scheduled for committee reports. We're gonna do those at the quarter. Is it June? Yeah. Anybody have anything? Committee reports? We're gonna, by the way, we're gonna ask you guys to, that are committee chairs, to bring a formalized report at the end of every quarter. And then in between, if you have updates that you want to share, you certainly can. I'll ask you every month if you want to share, but just understand at the end of the quarter, we'll have something more formal that we can present to the public. Oh, and one last thing, for those of you that, we threw around the idea of we don't have a parks department, and I don't think we will anytime soon. But we threw around the idea of gathering input for a parks committee of people. And what Mr. Schrout mentioned earlier, those open houses where we invite the public in to talk about what are we going to do with the ranch? Because, yeah, we own it, but doesn't mean we get to decide what it becomes. So I would really encourage you guys that expressed interest in being on a committee. You don't need to be on a committee, you just need to show up. So this is 3 really good opportunities for you guys to have your voices heard on the future of that amazing real estate. And I think, Mr. Murray, you had a comment?
Yes, 2 things. One, you mentioned on the dive with the sharks. I saw that, and I was real excited about it until I read the part that, I'm not certified as a diver. That is a caveat you have to be. So, yeah, with the committee reports, the Public Safety Committee, and I visited with Chief Jackson and Chief Ostrom, and we are definitely interested in having some citizens participate in this. And so I will be looking for some citizens that would like to be on this committee. But with that in mind, this is not going to be a watch committee. It's not going to be a citizens review board. It's going to be something that's going to be active in promoting our police department, our fire department, and EMS responders. And, if there's some input that's valid, then definitely that's something we want. So please keep that in mind. If you're interested in it, send me an email with your name, and we'll go from there.
Can I add to that?
Yes,
The
please.
kind of members that we had in mind that might be able to assist Councilor Murray, if you're prior law enforcement, any kind of first responder, and we think of public safety, we're also thinking about our roads. So if you have any civil engineering experience, heavy construction, anything like that. The safety of our roads is obviously the biggest thing we talk here about every year. We don't get complaints about our fire and police department in Jenks. We get complaints about our road. And when the curb loses 6 inches every 6 months, it becomes a safety issue. So if you have experience in any of those major silos, any expertise there, we'd love to have you to be a part of that, and just get a hold of Councilor Murray. Thank you, Craig. All right, that's it for my mayor's report. If there's nothing further, the time is 6:45 p.m. We will call the city council adjourned, and we will jump into the Jenks Public Works Authority. Mr. Macy, could you please verify our attendance again, sir?
Brown. Here. Short.
Here.
Emmons.
Here.
Ogier. Abel. Murray.
Here.
Chairbox.
Here, item number 1 is our consent agenda. Any calls for removal, or would like to improve a motion as is?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Vote, please.
Brown. Yes. Short.
Yes.
Emmons.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Chairbox.
Yes, item 2 we can pull. Moving on to item 3 is the addendum to the Jenks Chamber of Commerce agreement, previously approved on June 3rd of 2025. We are on page 63. Who's got this one? It's Nellen.
Mr. Chair, members of the authority, on June 3rd at your meeting, you approved the professional services agreement with the Jenks Chamber of Commerce. But at that time, there was a request to come back with some additional budget detail, as well as for the chamber to provide some key performance indicators related to the contract. So before you is an addendum to that agreement. It would become incorporated in the agreement. Towards the beginning, I set forth, just highlighted some of the accountability measures that were already in the contract. And then in the substance of the addendum, the chamber has provided a more detailed budget, and this states that the chamber will provide budget updates with their quarterly reports and their annual report, and also that the quarterly reports will provide the key performance indicators that were requested. And the chamber has provided some more detailed things that would be the key performance indicators, and Ms. Dunst can talk to you about those and answer any questions, unless you have any for me.
Any questions for Mrs. Nowlin? Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Good evening, Angie. How are you? Very well.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll just go over some of the highlights. We did talk about the dashboard last meeting. I kind of presented a sample of that. Though a lot of marketing and event efforts are hard to measure, this is basically based on 3 different areas. Is it making money? Is it bringing people? And is it helpful and beneficial to our businesses and communities? So with that in mind, the key performance indicators really do look over the event attendance, sponsorships, event vendors, businesses participating, upcoming events, and chamber engagement events and attendance with our programming, and then also event survey results. And then where we can, we will then also provide year-over-year comparisons. Some of that will be a little bit hard to do that, but as we go forward, it'll be easier because now we'll have it in the report. And then the sample budget you have before you has a little better breakdown of where the money will be spent. That again will be a little bit easier as we move forward and our tourism committee and our committees meet and determine exactly how they want to move forward with different promotions and marketing. But that budget is in there. And again, we will provide previous year's data when available, as well as our marketing and social media insights. So all of our social media will report update on followers and website followers, as well as our newsletter. And then our printed materials, that is mainly right now the Discover Jenks magazine, which just went to the designer and printer today, so that's exciting. But we also are getting that out regionally into the Midwest with Arkansas, Kansas, and Oklahoma. I did speak with the company that does that, and they are going to be able to provide me a quarterly report on approximately how many of those magazines are going out in each of the different districts, so we should have a pretty good idea of who's taking those. And then our business engagement with the chamber staff, business visits per month, and the economic impact interviews. All of that will be provided. Obviously, I'll give a more detailed report when I come in, but there is a dashboard that I will report that's easy to read that can go in the packets as well. And then you also have a sample of the budget, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunst. Did the 338,000 figure, did that change? Or we had a resident ask that if,
That's the total amount of the chamber budget. The 219,
I think the
Yeah.
question was it 485 before, just a month ago? Was there a variance, or has it always been that?
No, it's always been the same.
Okay.
This is actually less than what we asked for last year.
Okay, yeah. All right, but you're confident with the 338? Okay.
It's actually 219, and then the 338 is with the chamber, what we,
Okay, yeah.
and I think that's
Put
where
into
the
it as well.
confusion was
Yeah.
with the number that you said was maybe combining both the city's amount and the chamber's own amount.
Yeah.
But I think that the chamber amount was reduced,
Yeah,
is what you said.
okay.
So last year, I believe in the contract, it was a little over 247. With the City of Jenks contract, it's 219, but then there's in-kind for the space. And then the other, the 118, or 119, sorry, I have an issue reading here. 119,500 is what we bring in through special events and our programming events through ticket sales and stuff like that.
Okay. Do we differentiate between community events and tourism events?
Yes.
How would we answer that question to the public?
So a tourism event is going to bring a lot more people in from outside of the area, whereas a community event would be something more like, let's say, like not Sharks in the Park, that's a tourism event, but more like a symphony and suites, where we're focusing on our high school orchestra. So it's more bringing our community together and celebrating neighborhood and things like that. Does that make sense?
Okay.
You're going to have a lot more sales tax with an event that is more of a tourism event because you're bringing people from the outside, and more than likely they're buying and selling things from vendors. Whereas a community event, it's going to be more highlighting something within the community.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any questions from council on my right or left? Mr. Brown?
Just a quick comment. I do like the dashboard that you developed. Just in looking through the KPIs that are here, and I realize you've got to get some time to get some data from the past and get your feet under you. What I'd be looking for is maybe an ongoing discussion about the KPIs, because these are all reports on activities, but not necessarily outcomes or goal-oriented. So we'll want to look at these KPIs to say, if you're tracking, for example, the Discover Jenks publication, how many inquiries are then generated as a result of that, or how many of the merchants feel like that brought in customers to the stores. So we'll want to drill down on these KPIs and try to get more measurables in the future.
Absolutely. And one way we're doing that is we formed a tourism committee. And so a representative from a lot of the different tourism, such as the aquarium, Riverwalk, things like that, were also present on that committee. So we are trying to find ways on how we can work together to find those numbers and figure out how they're coming and how they're finding out about the different activities and things, the attractions we have.
Who's on the tourism committee?
Right now, we're forming that. We've only met twice, but we will start meeting monthly. The aquarium has attended, Lane with Riverwalk, the Ascension St. John sports fields, Katie and Marseille with the city, myself, I'm trying to think of who else, the outlet mall, Hannah with the outlet mall, and I'm probably missing somebody.
So it's essentially one or two representatives from each of those entities?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and we've had several more invited. I know representative from the Melting Pot has some really great ideas on promotions, so she'll be attending. We've also invited representatives from our hotels as well,
Can I be invited?
if you'd like.
I've been a tourist my whole life. Very good at it.
I'll send you an invite.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Dunst related to the contract or other, Mr.?
I know this is necessarily directed to you, but generally speaking, it's an in-kind lease, and with the idea that we are going to get revenue from events, correct? There's no lease agreement in here, is that correct? For the space, the current space, or any future space?
The
You
only,
asking me or her? You were looking at me.
I'll jump in and you all can add. The only thing that is referenced in the main contract is that the city will provide office space in exchange for the chamber providing the what are you calling it, the tourism?
A tourism center. So we will have brochures and information available where people can come in, even maybe buy Jenks merchandise, things like that.
At the time, the chamber is still at the ranch and it's contemplated that they may be moving, but until they move into another space that the city has control of, we won't have a lease with the chamber if the city covers their rent at a different location, the lease would be with a different entity. So lease will come later if appropriate.
That mostly answers my question. Thank you.
Well, since you used the word, is there a difference between a tourism center and a welcome center, or in your opinion, or?
It's very similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
So theoretically speaking, should you move to a new home, will that be a welcome center that you're hosting or a tourism center? Or does it matter?
Whichever you want to call it.
Okay.
We say tourism center because we say tourism in the contract. So it would be
Okay.
a place where people can come, hopefully eventually have maps. We have a kiosk system that we are launching, so
Yeah.
people can come and figure out where to go to dinner, where to shop, things like that. And again, maybe some Jenks merchandise or things like that we can highlight.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Mrs. Dunst? All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I have no further questions. We're still on item 3, I believe. If there's no further questions, we are on item 3. I'll give you another clue. Would anybody like to entertain a
I'll make a
motion to
motion,
approve or
Mr. Mayor.
consider to contemplate item?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor, to approve item 3, the addendum for the Chamber of Commerce as presented with discussion.
Second.
Thank you both very much. We have a proper motion second on item 3. Let's vote, please.
Brown?
Yes?
Short?
Yes.
Emmons?
Yes.
Murray?
Yes.
Chair Box?
Yes, anything else for your general manager's report?
No, sir.
Okay, it wouldn't be like me. I want to give you a speech. I overheard a conversation the other day between a father and a son. The son said something to the effect of, what are we celebrating on the 4th of July? The dad said freedom, pride, and all these things. And this kid said, I don't know, what do we have to be proud about? And the dad was trying to talk about, well, your great-grandfather. He said, I never met him. I don't know. Well, you know, the blood and the price that soldiers and sailors and airmen have paid for this country. The kid didn't have any idea. And it was interesting to watch the father try to contemplate how to reach this kid. His son is very, very interested in military. And they've been watching the news a lot the last 2 weeks. And the father said to this kid, you live in a country where it's so easy to take it to not appreciate what freedom really is. And maybe not everybody knows somebody who's paid the cost for that freedom, but he said, since you and I have been watching the news the last couple of weeks, you should be proud that you live in a country that has a $2 billion flying wing that flies 6 miles high and drops a 35,000-pound sharp object through a 3-foot hole, and it waits till it goes 300 feet under the ground before it does what it's supposed to do. And because it can do that, because you live in that country, you should be proud and know that it's things like that. It's men and women like that who fly halfway across the world from a little Air Force base in Missouri and fly 36 hours and refuel 10 times and drop that bomb in a small hole so we can continue to have maybe 4 or 5 more years of peace and freedom. That's something worth celebrating. So as this weekend, I hope everybody has a wonderful and safe weekend. I know we tend to think of pool, hot dogs, and burgers, and that's what we're all going to do. We're going to go to the lake. But for those kids out there that don't have a grandpa alive anymore, that don't have those stories, just find something else to be proud of. Pay attention to the news. There's a lot to be proud of in this country, regardless of political affiliation. So that's my political soap speech for you guys. Happy Independence Day. We appreciate you guys coming and paying attention to what's going on in your city government. Be blessed.
Mayor.
Yes.
Just a point I'd like to point out, I appreciate the chamber giving me the opportunity last week for the Bowling for Business. And I'm proud to say that one of 2 teams for the city of Jenks took second place, of which I was a participant. So thank you.
Last call for council. Anybody else want to brag on their second place participation trophy? All right, very well. The time is 7:05 p.m. Happy Independence Day. We are adjourned.